Hello, it's a cold, rainy, wet day here in Missouri. If you hear thunder, it's kind of thundering in the background here. What I'm going to do is show you the bake part of my Onondaga cave chute. If you've not seen that, this is the first time I've done this. I'm going to try to put a card up there where you can click and go back and watch the chute portion of this. But I'm only going to do one image today, so let's go into Lightroom and I'll show you how I edit. So here we are in Lightroom and we're in the bake part of it. This is the image that I'm going to edit for you today. And let me show you the original photo. This was the original. Now it looks dark. I use a technique when I'm exposing called exposure to the right, or ETTR for short. And what it did is I make sure that I get detail in my highlight area, that I don't blow out the highlight area. So let me do a comparison here. Whoop. Let me change those around. This is the original photo and this is what I edit to. So let's take the original photo, which is a DNG file, digital negative, and I'm going to open that in Developer. Now I have a normal preset, but let's look at something up here. This image was shot at an ISO of 560, which isn't bad. This was actually a pretty bright room. 24mm f8 at 1 second. I was on a tripod. So my approach to editing is normally, what do I need to change? Well, the color balance is real warm to me and it's a little dark. Now I have a pre-developer. As soon as I put my pointer over it, you can see it changes the photo. I have normal development and high ISO development. I'm going to use the high ISO development. Okay, so I've clicked that and you can see it made some changes here. Now the first thing I like to do is try to get the color balance more of what I've seen, and it looks pretty warm here, so I'm going to take the blue slider to the left, and just to see color more, I'm going to increase my exposure a little bit. It still looks blue, or I'm sorry, it still looks yellow to me, so I'm going to add some more blue, something like that. And then I start working with my exposure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom into this waterfall and I'm going to look at this brightest area. Now one thing that I like to do, this little square here shows my highlight warning or clipping. I'm going to click that on and I'm going to take the highlight slider over, and then I'm going to open up my shadows. Let me go back to full screen. I'm going to open up the shadows. Then I'm going to brighten the image even more. Something like that. Now here's a trick I learned. Then I'm going to hold down the Option key on my Mac and go to my white slider and move it to the right until I see those little dots right there in the center? And I'm going to back that off till they disappear. And I'm going to do the same with black. I'm going to back off my blacks until the color disappears. Now that is pretty good exposure, but if I zoom in, see I'm getting some clipping there, so now I'm going to take my white highlight slider, slide it in, and take my white over just too fast, something like that. Fit the screen again. Now it still looks a little too yellow to me, so I'm going to blue it up a little bit, blue it up, add blue. Okay, and now I'm going to take down my shadows a little bit. Now I want the viewer's eye, and you can see I still have some clipping going on because I changed the blue channel. So again, I'm going to slide my white slider over until those disappear and zoom back out. I'm just hitting the Z key on my Mac, and now I want my viewers to view this area. This is the most important area. So now I'm going to come to my local adjustments, and I'm going to use a radial filter, and I'm going to draw a radial, and I have green set so I know where it's making the adjustments, something like that. And I'm going to invert it, because wherever I have the circle, wherever the green shows is the effect. I don't want it to affect that. I like the way that looks, so I'm going to invert my mask. Now this is kind of a vignette, but it's a more controlled vignette. So now I'm going to turn off my green, and I'm going to take my exposure slider and turn it down very slowly, something to that effect. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to check to see if I've got any noise left. So I'm going to zoom into a dark area, and I'm going to go down to my details. Now, when I have noise, I don't do any sharpening. You're just sharpening noise. And I'm going to turn off the noise reduction all the way off. You can see the little magenta and blue splotches, so I'm going to bring up my color first until I see the magenta disappear. I'm kind of looking up here. And then I'm going to add the luminance. And I don't want it to be too smooth. Something like that. Now I've learned, see that little spot right there? I've learned at higher ISOs to take my black slider over just a little bit, give it a little more contrast. Now I'm going to zoom back out. Now I'm zoomed at 300%. So whoop, zoom back out. There we go. I just accidentally hit my X key. I don't want to delete that. Okay, now I'm getting a little banding again, so I'm going to go back to my white slide. I'm going to take that all the way over my highlight slider to take it out. Oh, there's still a little dot right up there. There we go. Fit the screen. And let's see what it looks like compared to the first one. Almost identical. I got a little more green in this second one. So I'm going to take my magenta slider and slide it over just a little bit. Yeah, that looks pretty good right there. And I'm going to brighten it up a little. And I'm watching those highlights again. I'm going to move my slider over. There we go. Now, I'm going to add a little vibrance. I rarely touch my saturation. And dehaze is always a good one to play with. Something to that effect. Now I don't like the lighter area up here. The viewer's eye kind of could go out there, so what I'm going to go down to is my effects panel, and I'm going to add a vignette, and I overdo this, and then I take my feather all the way off so I can see where the vignette is actually going to be. I'm going to pull my midpoint down to about right there, and I'm going to pull the feather over quite a ways, and then I'm going to lighten it up just a little bit. Good. I think I like that. And that's the way I would edit that photo. Now, I did tell you what I'd like to do is reshoot this and add a person here, one here, here, and here, and have them hold flashlights. And the flashlights would be a strong blue light, and I'd have those people point their flashlights in different directions. Okay, that's how I would edit. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy this content, I ask that you give me a thumbs up.